The film begins in Ireland in 1985 with a coal trader named Bill. We learn that Bill is married, has 5 daughters, and leads a stable life. We also know that at that time, Ireland was under the control of a Catholic regime that dictated every aspect of life in the country. Soon after, Magdalene institutions emerged, groups of churches that abused women and girls who became pregnant out of wedlock. These institutions confined them within the church and forced them to serve there for the rest of their lives. Later, the children born out of wedlock were taken away and put up for adoption, which, in their view, was the only way to atone for their sins. Naturally, these girls were subjected daily to the utmost humiliation, and no one dared to object. On that day, we see Bill go about his routine work. He collects bags of coal and distributes them to every home in town until he reaches a church, where he empties the coal into the storeroom. There, he witnesses a woman bringing her daughter who had made a mistake with a young man in an attempt to force her entry into the church. The girl continues to scream and plead with her mother to have mercy and not to leave her in the church, but the mother refuses to listen. At that moment, Bill feels great pity for the child, recalling his own similarly harsh childhood. Later that night, Bill returns home and goes into the bathroom to wash his hands thoroughly, trying to remove the coal's residue. He then goes to greet his wife, Elaine, and his daughters. They sit down together for dinner, and the girls proudly present the school assembly that had taken place that day. Bill is very pleased with their academic success. During dinner, Bill tells them that he met the son of Mike today and even gave him some money, which prompts his wife to chide him, saying that he should not have given money since it was meant to be spent entirely on the dead man's family. Later in the night, after everyone has gone to sleep, Bill finds himself unable to sleep because he is overwhelmed by his thoughts. He sits alone in prayer, recalling memories of his own childhood. We learn that Bill had a very difficult childhood due to his mother, who became pregnant out of wedlock. Her family could not accept this, so they sent both her and her son to the Magdalene institutions. After a while, his mother decided to escape and went to work for a kind woman named Wilson, with whom she and her son lived for many years. That same day, Bill was bullied at school because of his mother. Wilson even struck him to find out what had happened, but he never replied. Later, his wife asked him what gift he wished for at Christmas, and Bill replied that he had longed for a jigsaw puzzle. His wife then asked him to write a letter to Santa asking for that gift, assuring him it would come. We return to the present with Bill, who is seen drinking with his wife and daughters in town, enjoying the Christmas decorations. After returning home, they prepare dinner together and continue writing letters to Santa, listing what they desire for the coming year. One of the daughters asks Bill what gift he had wished for as a child, and he replies that he had longed for a jigsaw puzzle. Later, after the daughters have fallen asleep, Bill sits with his wife, who asks him if he is still in contact with Ned. Bill replies that the relationship has been severed since his mother's death. Bill tries to hide his emotions, insisting he is fine despite feeling somewhat pressured by his work, and he even asks if she too feels the same exhaustion, since she has noticed he stays awake all night, which only makes him more tense. The film then flashes back to Bill's childhood. We see him eagerly opening his Christmas gift, only to be shocked when he finds that his mother had brought him another gift instead of the one he had desired. He abandons that gift and walks away, closing the door on his own. He then begins to cry because he never received what he had longed for as a child. Afterwards, he goes to reconcile with Ned and promises him that he will bring him the jigsaw puzzle the following year. We return to the present, where Bill begins to cry as he remembers all those memories, finding it difficult to sleep as usual. He dresses and goes off to start his work early. During his break, he meets his daughter, Caslin, and asks her if any young man has been paying attention to or bothering her. Caslin reassures him that she is fine and comfortable at work, and she tells him to inform her immediately if anyone ever disturbs her. It is evident that Bill is very worried about his daughters and does not want them to repeat the mistakes of his mother and her past, mistakes that would cost him dearly for life. When he reaches the church, he enters the storeroom to place the bags there. At that moment, he hears the voices of girls crying out inside the church, which deeply affects him. He wishes he could do something for them, but he does not know how. He then takes the invoices and enters the church to collect the payment for the goods he brought. As he enters, he observes the girls being forced to work. Suddenly, a nun addresses him, saying, "Girl, what are you doing here?" He replies that he has come to give them the invoices. The nun then instructs him to go to Sister Carmel's room to settle his account, and after leaving him, she departs. Bill continues walking inside the church until he finds a girl running toward him in tears. She pleads with him to help her leave that place because she can no longer bear the daily injustice and torture. Bill stands there, shocked and unable to do anything for her, until another nun comes and shouts at the girl. Then she escorts Bill out of the church, ordering him never to enter again without permission. Bill apologizes and promises that it will not happen again. That night, Bill returns home, deeply saddened and unable to forget the scene of the girls he witnessed. Girls who were subjected daily to the worst forms of injustice and humiliation. Memories flood back as he recalls playing with his ball outside the house, and then being shocked when he found his mother dead before him. It appears that his mother had suffered from a chronic illness. After her death, Wilson decided to take care of Bill because there was no one else to care for him. When Bill comes to his senses from these memories, he sits with his wife and recounts the story of the girl who sought his help at the church, confessing that he is very upset with himself for not being able to bring her happiness. His wife gently tells him that the matter does not concern him, as she knows that no one could defy the orders of the church. Bill responds that their silence over this issue greatly troubles him, asking, "How long must we remain silent in the face of this injustice?" His wife replies that if he wishes to live a normal life in Ireland, he must remain silent and not interfere in anything that happens around him, since they have daughters to raise, and any attempt to help the girls detained in the church might bring them problems and hurt his own daughters. The film then flashes back once more to the past with Bill sitting with Wilson, looking very depressed after his mother's death. Wilson consoles him and assures him that she will take care of him until he grows up, and when he asks about his father's whereabouts, Wilson is visibly affected by his question, but cannot provide an answer, so she leaves. We return again to the present with Bill, who vents all his anger at work. When he gets home, he stays awake all night, unable to stop thinking about his father, of whom he knows nothing, and it is clear that his father's absence still affects him to this day. Next, Bill takes his truck to deliver coal to the church, and as soon as he enters the storeroom, he is surprised to see a girl from the church named Sarah. She is sitting alone, overwhelmed by tears, and it is evident that the church has been monitoring and confining her there for some time. Naturally, as soon as Bill sees her, he is deeply affected and tries to calm her. Sarah tells him that she is pregnant with a child born out of wedlock and that she is due in 5 months, while the church intends to take her baby and offer for adoption. Of course, Bill is shocked by what he hears because the girl appears too young for such news, and he finds himself unable to comfort her, knowing that her family brought her there by force and that they certainly would not allow her to return home. There is no other place for her except the church. Bill takes her and returns her to the church. At that moment, Mother Mary, the head of the church, arrives and orders the nuns to take Sarah to bathe and change her clothes. Then, she invites Bill to join her for tea in her office. Bill goes with her, feeling tense, and she inquires about his well-being and that of his family. He assures her that everyone is fine, and when she asks about his eldest daughter's studies, who is set to graduate this year and plans to attend university, Mother Mary reflects that all the girls have been educated and admitted to school thanks to her, noting that all the schools in the country are under control of the Catholic Church. Clearly, Mother Mary issues an indirect threat. If Bill dares to speak out about what he witnessed today, his daughters might be deprived of their right to education. At that moment, Sarah re-enters terrified, as it is evident that the nuns have reprimanded her for what she did. Mother Mary then asks Sarah to explain to Bill what she was doing in the storeroom. Sarah, visibly distressed, tells her that she had been playing with her friend and that they were accidentally confined in the storeroom, a version of events that moves Bill, who already knows the truth, yet remains silent because he believes his words would not make a difference. Suddenly, Sarah breaks down in tears because she cannot speak the truth. Mother Mary then orders the nuns to restore Sarah to her former state, and she hands Bill an envelope containing money, offering it to him in exchange for his silence. At first, Bill refuses to take the money, but Mother Mary insists, and he leaves her office in shock. As he steps out, he sees Sarah again and rushes to her, giving her the address of the place where he works and telling her to come there if she ever needs help. However, the nuns, furious, forcefully escort them out of the church. Yet everyone is forced to attend church every week because they remain under her control. At the end of the day, Bill returns home where his wife awaits him. She tells him that the midwife from Mother Mary's side informed her that Bill had received an envelope containing money, causing Bill to feel anxious since he had no intention of spending that money. However, he hesitates to reveal to her the envelope's whereabouts. His wife is overjoyed upon seeing the money because it will solve a significant crisis for them, unlike Bill, who remains bewildered. The following morning, Bill goes online from home. He is the only one who reminds him of his mother, but a relative informs him that his mother is unwell and has been admitted to the hospital. Later that day, Bill spends the night at a pub, trying to forget his sorrows. But throughout the evening, he keeps thinking about Sarah and feels deep sorrow for her. The pub owner notices his pain, approaches him, and tells him that she rejects what happened at the church, advising him to distance himself from the issue because it can entangle him in many problems, such as depriving his daughters of education or even causing him to lose his job. Bill thanks her for the advice, but does not fully agree with her. Afterward, Bill visits a shoe store to buy a Christmas present for his wife. On his way, he stops at a salon to get a haircut, remembering how Ned used to take him to the salon when he was young, always playing with him so that he would not feel orphaned. Despite being very attached to Ned, as he was the only father figure he knew, Bill also felt sadness toward him because, partly due to Ned, Bill ended up silent about his mother, who was thought to be disreputable. Because of that, Bill experienced a very harsh childhood, facing daily bullying and the most severe insults. We return to the present with Bill, who appears devastated as he recalls all those memories and continues walking alone on the street, unable to stop thinking about Sarah. He goes to the storeroom and finds that Sarah is still being held there, looking terrified and trembling. Bill approaches her and asks her to come with him, assuring her that he will protect her. Sarah gets up with him, but when she remembers what might be done to her, she is overcome with fear and falls back to the ground. Bill tells her not to be afraid as long as he is by her side, holding her hand and helping her up. He then takes her outside the storeroom, and halfway along the way, Sarah falls to the ground and continues to cry as memories of all the torment she endured in the church come flooding back. Bill embraces her and reassures her that everything will be all right, and they continue on until they reach the front of Bill's house. When they arrive, Sarah is hesitant to enter, knowing that his family will surely not accept her among them. Bill holds her hand, reassures her, and then goes to introduce her to his family. From that moment, Bill decides to consider Sarah one of his daughters and to let her live with them for the rest of her life. In the end, we learn that this film is based on true events. From 1922 to 1988, more than 56,000 girls were sent to Magdalene institutions. In these institutions, children were taken from their mothers and put up for adoption in exchange for large sums of money. This practice continued for many years until, eventually, the government issued a decision to close the Magdalene institutions, and the film concludes.